He told me it was just a small paperwork thing, a signature, a favor, something that would make things easier for both of us. I trusted him, my own brother. I didn't know that day, when I picked up the pen, I was signing away everything my father built. Months later, when his lawyer called me sir, I realized my silence had just become my weapon. My name's Ayan. I grew up believing family meant forever. My father was a quiet man, the kind who believed in hard work and fairness. He built a small business, nothing fancy but enough to give us a decent life. A small warehouse, a few loyal workers, and his 2 sons, me and my younger brother, Rafi. Rafi was always the charming one, the talker, the dreamer. He could make anyone like him in minutes. I was the opposite, the quiet one, the planner, the one who'd stay up late doing the books while he made promises to clients he barely remembered the next day. But my father loved us both. He always said, "You two will carry my name together." And for a long time, I believed that. When my father passed away, things changed fast. Grief does strange things to people. Some cry, some shut down. Rafi became restless, hungry. He started talking about expanding the business, new investors, bigger dreams. He said it was what father would have wanted. I wanted to believe him. But something in his voice felt rehearsed. One day, he came to me with a smile. "Bro, we just need to sign a few legal forms," he said. "Transfer stuff, tax clearance, all formalities. The lawyer's already prepared everything." I looked at the papers. So many pages, filled with legal jargon I barely understood. He laughed. "Don't worry, it's just bureaucracy. You know how they make everything complicated." And like a fool, I signed. I didn't know I had just given him full control and erased my name from every document that mattered. A month later, I went to the warehouse. My key didn't fit. Inside, the workers avoided eye contact. The manager, who'd known me since I was 15, mumbled, "Rafi said you're taking a break. Overseas." I froze. I hadn't told anyone I was leaving. When I called my brother, he didn't pick up. When I texted him, he replied, "Let's talk later. Don't make this messy." That's when it hit me. It wasn't a misunderstanding. He planned it. He wanted it all. The business, the property, the legacy. And I'd handed it to him. For weeks, I didn't sleep. I went through the papers again and again, reading every clause I'd signed, each word cut deeper. I'd lost everything. The house, the office, even my father's old car was now company property. I felt hollow, betrayed not by a stranger, but by blood. At first, I wanted to fight, but every lawyer I met told me the same thing. You signed it willingly. No one cared why, only that I had, so I stopped trying to fight back the usual way. Instead, I started watching, listening, waiting. I remembered something my father once said. Greed destroys faster than revenge ever could. And Rafi was drowning in greed. He bought a new car, moved into a luxury apartment, started posting pictures with business partners I'd never met. The business was growing, but so was his ego. He stopped paying suppliers on time, ignored tax letters. I knew it was only a matter of time before things cracked. Then one morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Ayan?" a deep voice asked. "This is Arman, Rafi's lawyer. He's asked me to reach out to you." For a moment, my chest tightened. I thought it was another trap. But his next words changed everything. He said, "Sir, I believe you have something Rafi doesn't. Integrity. And right now, his company is about to fall apart." I didn't speak, because for the first time, someone called me sir, someone on his side. And I realized this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of his downfall. He explained that Rafi had overextended himself. Investors were pulling out. Taxes hadn't been filed properly. The company was on the edge of collapse. And now, because I had experience managing the accounts and understanding the contracts, I was the only person who could fix it. I felt a strange mix of anger and satisfaction. He'd taken everything from me, yes, but now I held the keys to the very empire he thought he owned. I didn't call him. I didn't confront him. I waited. I let him make mistakes. Let his greed grow bigger than his sense. Let him sink deeper into his own lies. I started contacting suppliers quietly, correcting orders, paying overdue bills, and sending reassuring emails to clients under my name, not his. I stayed in the shadows, watching as the cracks in Rafi's empire began to show. He didn't notice. He thought he was in control. Then came the day when Armin, the lawyer, called again. Rafi's about to make a move that will ruin him completely, but he can still save face if you step in discreetly. My heart raced. I realized my plan wasn't revenge through confrontation. It was revenge through precision. I didn't need to yell or fight or scream. His own arrogance would do the work for me. Over the next few weeks, Rafi made one bad decision after another. Contracts were mismanaged. Suppliers grew suspicious. Employees started talking to me quietly, asking for guidance because they no longer trusted him. Every time he looked confident, I could see the cracks forming behind his smile. One morning, I walked past the office and the receptionist whispered, "Sir, he's asking about you. He wants to know why the accounts are in order." I smiled quietly to myself. That little word, sir, felt like a quiet victory. He had called me a fool, a brother, a nobody. And now he was forced to rely on me without even realizing it. I never called him. I didn't need to. I let the law and his mistakes do it for me. His lawyer, Armin, sent him notices about overdue filings and penalties. Each notice was a reminder. Rafi had no one to blame but himself. I stayed silent, invisible, untouchable. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. Rafi sat across from me at the office one evening, finally realizing his empire was crumbling. He looked at me, defeated, desperate, and whispered, "Ayan." "How?" I leaned back and smiled faintly. I didn't need to explain. The answer was written in every paper, every deal, every mistake he had made. He had built his castle on the sand, and I had been watching the tide rise. For the first time since he betrayed me, I felt calm, powerful, free. I had wanted revenge for the hurt, the betrayal, the stolen legacy, but revenge didn't need to be loud. It didn't need to be violent. Sometimes the quietest victories hurt the most. I remembered what my father used to say. Greed destroys faster than revenge ever could. I realized now that the truth was stronger than anger. Letting Rafi destroy himself while I stayed true to the principles he abandoned was the loudest statement I could ever make. Months later, Rafi was gone. He had sold parts of the business under pressure, lost key contracts, and was living in a small apartment, far from the empire he thought he controlled. I kept the family business, steady, intact, and thriving. And when the new investors came to meet me, they called me sir. That word, it wasn't just respect, it was justice. Quiet, patient, and undeniable. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes staying silent while the world reveals the truth is the strongest revenge. I learned that peace feels better than payback, and I learned that trust, once broken, can become the most powerful weapon if used wisely. Rafi's downfall wasn't explosive. It was slow, almost poetic. One day, he'd post pictures of expensive dinners and fake smiles. The next, he'd be begging old partners for extensions, loans, favors. I didn't respond to any of his calls. I wanted him to feel what silence truly meant, because that's what he gave me. Silence when I asked for answers. Arman, his lawyer, became my quiet ally. He wasn't doing it for me. He was doing it because he respected fairness. He said, "You handled this with grace, Ayan. Most people would have gone to war." I smiled. Sometimes peace is the best kind of war. Weeks later, Rafi called me again. This time, I answered. He sounded smaller somehow. His voice cracked between words. "Bro, I need help. Please. I said nothing for a moment. Then I asked, You need help from the man you betrayed? He went silent. That silence told me everything. I met him in the same office that used to be ours, the one where he had once kicked me out. Now he was sitting in front of me, tired, broken, desperate. He placed a file on the table. Take it, he said softly. You deserve it back. I opened it. It was the original partnership deed, my name reinstated, signed by him. For a second, I wanted to feel joy, but I didn't, because what I saw wasn't a victory. It was proof of how far we'd fallen. He whispered, I thought I was smarter than you. I thought I could handle everything alone. I looked at him and said, You didn't just lose the business, Rafi. You lost your brother. He lowered his head, unable to meet my eyes. For the first time, he didn't try to charm his way out, didn't fake a smile, didn't argue. He just sat there, silent. I signed the papers again, but this time, on my terms. The company would be under my management and he'd receive a fair share of the profits, as long as he stayed out of operations. He agreed, without hesitation. When I walked out that day, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel revenge. I felt peace. It's strange how pain can change you. Months ago, I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to lose everything. But now, watching him crumble under his own greed, it didn't make me proud. It made me sad. People think revenge is about hurting the person who hurt you, but it's not. Real revenge is seeing them face the truth, without you lifting a finger. A few months later, the company began to thrive again. I rebuilt trust with old clients, restructured the finances, and restored my father's vision. Every decision I made with calm, not anger, and the irony, Rafi's lawyer, Armin, became my closest advisor. He once said, You know, your brother underestimated you. You were never weak, you were just patient. I laughed quietly. Patience was the only thing he couldn't buy. Rafi still calls sometimes. He's trying to make amends, trying to rebuild what's left of our bond. I don't hate him anymore. I've learned that hate is heavy, and I don't want to carry it. Now, when I walk into the office, the same people who once avoided my eyes stand and greet me. Good morning, sir. That word still hits differently. It's not about status or power. It's about dignity, something he could never take away from me. I often think back to that day when I signed those papers. I remember the sound of the pen scratching the paper, the trust in my heart, and the betrayal that followed. But if I could go back, I wouldn't change it, because that mistake became my awakening. Sometimes the people who destroy your peace are the ones who teach you how to build it back stronger. And sometimes losing everything is how you find yourself again. My brother tricked me into signing away my share, but his lawyer called me sir, and that single word reminded me, respect can't be stolen. It can only be earned. After that day, everything started to feel different. Quieter, more stable, more mine. The chaos that once surrounded my life had finally gone silent. But silence can be strange. Sometimes it feels like peace. Sometimes it feels like a void. Every morning, I'd sit in my father's old chair, the same one he used to sit on with his tea, reviewing accounts by hand. The wood creaked under my weight, and I could almost hear his voice saying, Stay humble, Ayan. The world changes, but honesty doesn't. I finally understood what he meant. All those years I thought he wanted me to be successful, but what he really wanted was for me to be grounded. Rafi stayed out of sight for a while. No calls, no messages, just distance. And for the first time, I didn't chase that distance. I accepted it. I threw myself into work. I met with suppliers, apologized for past delays, paid dues personally, and promised better. Slowly, they started to trust the name Hassan and Sons again. Not because of the name, but because I gave them my word and kept it. Then one afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Rafi. His voice was quiet, almost unfamiliar. "I'm sorry, Ayan," he said. I didn't reply. I waited. He continued, "You don't have to forgive me. I needed to say it." There was a long silence between us, years of unspoken pain sitting in that pause. And then I said softly, "You didn't just take money from me, Rafi. You took trust. That's harder to earn back than any business." He sighed. "I know. I ruined everything Dad taught us." His words hit deeper than I expected, because for the first time he wasn't defending himself. He was admitting it. I told him, "I'm not your enemy, Rafi. I never was. You made me one." He didn't argue, just whispered, "Maybe one day you'll let me prove I can change." I didn't promise him anything. I just said, "We'll see." After hanging up, I sat there for a long time, thinking about how betrayal twists people. It turns love into suspicion, loyalty into weakness, but it also shows you who you are when everything's gone. In those moments, I realized something important. Revenge had ended the day I found peace. What came after wasn't about payback. It was about rebuilding what I almost lost, myself. Months passed. The company began growing faster than ever. New deals, new faces, new hope. And then, one morning, Arman, the lawyer, came into my office. He smiled, the same calm smile he always had. "Rafi wants to meet," he said. I looked up. "For what?" "He's been working on a small startup. He wants your advice." I didn't answer right away. Part of me didn't want to see him again. But another part, the one that still remembered the boy who used to share a bed with me during storms, wanted to. So I agreed. We met at a small cafe, away from everything. He looked different, older, quieter, humbled. He ordered coffee but didn't touch it. Then he pulled out a small brown envelope and slid it across the table. Inside was a photograph. Our father, standing between us, his hands on our shoulders, smiling proudly. Rafi said, "I found it in the old storeroom. Thought you should have it." For a moment, my throat tightened. So much had happened between us, but that photo reminded me where it all began. He said, "I don't expect you to forget, but I want to make things right. Not for me, for him." I looked at him. He meant it this time, and maybe that was enough for now. We sat there in silence, the kind that didn't hurt anymore. He looked relieved. I felt lighter. Sometimes forgiveness isn't a gift you give them. It is the freedom you give yourself. When I left the cafe, the sun was setting. The streets glowed golden, and for the first time in years, I felt like my father was watching. Not disappointed, but proud. Rafi and I never became the same again, but we found a fragile kind of peace. He learned humility. I learned strength. And in a strange way, maybe that's what my father wanted all along, because at the end of it all, blood doesn't make you family. Loyalty does. My brother tricked me into signing away my share, but in the end, I got back something worth more than money. My peace. And when people call me Sir now, it's not just a title. It's a story of betrayal, of silence, of justice, and of finding myself again, without losing my soul. It's been 2 years since that day at the cafe. 2 years since I looked my brother in the eyes and saw something I never expected to see again. Remorse. Life has changed in quiet but powerful ways. The business grew beyond what my father ever dreamed. We expanded, hired new people, opened new branches, but I made one rule. We'd never forget how easily trust can be broken. Every deal, every signature, every handshake, built on transparency. No hidden clauses, no fine print. Sometimes I catch myself smiling when I think about how far I've come, not because I won, but because I didn't become what broke me. People still ask me about Rafi. Some don't even know what happened between us. They just know I run the company now and that I keep things clean. I tell them the truth. He's doing his own thing, trying to make a new start. Every now and then he drops by the office, not as the man who once betrayed me, but as the brother who's trying to fix the pieces. He brings coffee, cracks small jokes, stays for a few minutes, then leaves quietly. It's awkward, but honest, and I'll take honest over comfortable any day. One evening, he stopped by after hours. The office was quiet, lights dim, just the hum of the air conditioner. He placed a box on my desk, old ledgers, papers, photos. He said, "These were Dad's. You should have them." I opened it later that night. There was a note tucked between the pages of my father's handwriting. It said, "If you ever lose everything, remember, character is the one thing no one can steal from you." I sat there in the dark, staring at that note, realizing how true it was. Everything I had, the business, the respect, even the word sir, none of it mattered as much as that one thing my father left me: integrity. Rafi texted me the next morning. "Thanks for not giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it." I didn't reply right away. I didn't need to. Some things don't need words anymore. A few months later, we attended a small memorial event for our father. It had been years since we stood side by side in public. People whispered, of course, they always do. But I noticed something in Rafi's posture. He wasn't trying to be the center of attention anymore. He stood beside me, quietly, respectfully. At one point, an old business associate approached us. He shook my hand and said, "Your father would be proud of the man you've become, Yayan." Then he turned to Rafi and said, "And you, I'm glad you're learning to stand again." We both smiled faintly. For once, no bitterness, no envy, just peace. After the event, Rafi walked with me to the car. He said, "You know, when I called you brother before, I didn't mean it. I used the word, but not the weight. I do now." I looked at him and said, "Then don't waste it again." He nodded. We drove in silence, city lights reflecting off the windshield. And somewhere between the traffic and the quiet hum of the night, I realized, forgiveness isn't about rewriting the past. It's about not letting it control your future. That night, when I got home, I stood by the window, watching the lights of the warehouse flicker in the distance. The same warehouse my father built, the same one my brother tried to steal, and now, the same one that had become our shared redemption. It's strange, the way pain shapes you. At first, it burns. Then, it teaches. And one day, you wake up and realize the person who betrayed you was also the person who made you stronger. I once believed revenge would make me feel powerful, but it didn't. What made me powerful was patience, silence, and the choice to rise above. My brother tricked me into signing away my share. He took my name, my trust, my legacy, but in the end, I got everything back and more. Not because I fought harder, but because I waited longer. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see a man who didn't let betrayal define him. I see my father's lessons in my reflection, strength, restraint, and honor, and I see the truth that changed my life forever. Sometimes, losing everything isn't the end. It's the start of becoming who you were always meant to be.